the only reason I even bring up the word oppressed is because there's a phrase I've heard that basically says it is the onus of relieving yourself from oppression is on the oppressed. The onus is not on anyone else. And that's like sort of the sucky truth of it.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, yes and no. You know, like, the oppressor can educate themselves on ways that they're oppressing even when they don't mean to be oppressing, and then the oppressed has a sort of necessity to explain to the oppressor why oppressing is bad. You know what I mean? So I find a lot of the things that end up bothering me that happen as a woman in technology are a lot of the very microaggressions from people who aren't meaning bad. You know, a lot of little things that are said that are meant as a compliment but come off as making me feel uncomfortable. Like when I tell people I'm a programmer and they go, "Oh, a woman programmer, that's so great," which is a compliment. Like they're genuinely, yes, that's great. You're a woman, you make games, you're a programmer, that's cool. But what that comes out as is, haha, you're different, you know, and that's uncomfortable, and it's little things like that where it's still an odd thing for a woman to be a game developer, let alone a programmer, and things like that, that when it's pointed out or it's expounded upon are very, very bothersome, and, you know, continue to perpetuate that stereotype that women don't make games and therefore you're weird, and that's why I'm complimenting you on being weird. And so it's weird because, like, those are things that are coming from people who don't mean to oppress, but are oppressing in a way through the microaggressions, and it's up to us who are affected by that to explain why to the well-meaning people why that's bad and why that does perpetuate bad things, and then it's up to them to then fix that behavior. So it's everybody's responsibility in a way.
Yeah. So what direction do you want to see the industry take in the future?
And I mean, a direction where everybody gets along and everybody's happy.
What sort of games do you think could be built that would perpetuate that mission?
I think a lot of what I'd like to see more of is more accepting of games that are smaller vignettes of experiences. So a lot of work that, like, Nina Freeman is doing, just little tiny vignette experiences, little things that aren't, you know, oh, I have to do this for a high score and it has 30 seconds of playability. Like, no, just little tiny emotional stories, almost, you know, adventure books, but in video game form, and things like that. Because I feel like people have been. Oh, did you say something?
Did you name a programmer who does vignettes, or did I mishear you?
What?
Who is it that does that? About the vignettes, did you say the name of a programmer who does them, or did I mishear you?
Yeah, Nina Freeman. She makes little tiny vignette games. She also works for Fulbright now, out in Portland. She used to be in New York, making a bunch of little tiny games. But she makes very small, just like experience games. You know, one of her well-known games is about learning as a child, learning about sexuality by playing with like naked dolls. You know, and little things like that where people start making games about relatable experiences that you don't really talk about, but you can experience through little things. And it'd be a really interesting way, I think, to get a lot of cross-culture experiences, because, you know, you can read a book about a country far, far away, but playing a little game where you are that person experiencing something that is so typical to that country far, far away is so much more and insightful than, you know, reading something or just watching a movie. And so I really want people to be able to feel more comfortable making these little experience games that they can share with other people who might not share those experiences, so they can experience those games and experience those little things and get more of like a cross-culture thing going on. And then everybody will understand everybody and we'll get along and everything will be great.
That is my dream as well. So getting more technically meticulous, what is, in your opinion, the one most important aspect of a game that you think elevates good games above all the rest?
That one's hard because it's very subjective. Because what is a good game versus a bad game?
It's totally your.
Yeah, for me, a good game that I end up playing a lot usually ends up frustrating me. But in that way where like I know I can do it, but it's punishing me and I haven't been able to do it yet. Like something like Trials HD, where like if you could just do it right, it would work out fine. But you have to keep practicing and refine that skill, and getting that balance of teaching you how to do whatever it is in the best way possible, but without making you feel like you're failing, but like you're progressing all the time.
Right.
Because I think that sense of progression and that sense of success is what I enjoy at a game, which I actually realized last night. I was playing Destiny, and I went through the Temple of Crota raid and then also the Vault of Glass raid in one night, and I realized by the end of the night I felt really, really accomplished and good about myself because, I worked together with this team and we did this thing and we beat the bad guy and we're all wonderful. And, like, being able to work through those raids and get better at it and get the team up to speed of how it works and work through and, take down the bad guys is a very accomplishing feeling thing. And I think that's what I like about games, is making me feel like I did something worthwhile or that I got better at something by trying it out a lot. I like to get better at things, so I think that's the sense that I like in games that make a good game good to me.
That's fantastic. What is something you wish you had done on all your games?
Not procrastinated.
I've been telling myself that since junior high school.
Yeah, basically not procrastinated ever, and doing a lot more like pre-production things. Like I tend to have an idea and then just start making it, which is not a bad way to go about it. But I think I would benefit a lot from the step of I have an idea, I make a paper prototype, I draw some things out, and I write about it a little bit, and then I try it out. Because I tend to get really discouraged if I have an idea that feels good in my head, and then I make a little prototype in Unity, and it turns out that it actually doesn't even make sense whatsoever as an interactive game, which always discourages me because I'm like, oh no, my ideas are terrible. And I think I could alleviate a lot of that stress of feeling terrible if I would have just sat down and drawn things out a little bit and gone, oh yeah, no, this won't work, I'm not even going to bother. Or solidify a lot more ideas before jumping into them and ending up with like a loose spaghetti idea. So yeah, pre-production.
That springboards me into if you have any advice on prototyping. And I think after this question, if you don't mind, I'll open it up to the audience and see if they have any questions for you. So any advice on prototyping, since after a game a week for a year, you must be pretty good at it by now.
So I have two pieces of big advice for prototyping. The one is whatever idea you have, hone it down to one mechanic. Like don't look at an idea and pretend that it's one mechanic. Like actually get it down to one mechanic. If you have an idea about like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make magnets and the magnets are gonna repel and they're gonna attract and it's gonna be great and then there's gonna be all these things, like that's too much. Like the mechanic is repelling and attraction. Get that. Like get down to that, and build the prototype around that one main mechanic. And if you can't get it down to one main mechanic, then your idea is too big already. And then the other piece of advice is don't worry about like the little things, like the fluff and the polish. Like I always would get really antsy at getting something that actually looked correct in there. So like that's why I'd go to Open Game Art and get like some crappy tile sheet, and then all of a sudden I'd be messing around with tile sheets for an hour instead of actually prototyping out the main mechanic of the game, when I could have just put like a blue square in its place. And it's really easy to get hung up on those details because it sounds easy, like, oh yeah, I'll just go put some grass in here because it's supposed to be grass. And then 4 hours later, you might have grass, and that could have been 4 hours that you were actually prototyping out the idea with like a green block, really fancy, like procedurally generated grass. So it is a lot of like scoping things down and being mindful of your time management. That, monkey see, monkey do. Listen, do as I say, not as I do. And it's a lot of honing things down a lot and not worrying about the details and just making it work no matter how ugly it is or how poor the code is. Like, all the code that you write during prototyping phase is going to get thrown out. Don't worry about nice-looking code. Just make it so that it works, so that you can test it out and see what works and make little adjustments here and there to tweaking of numbers until you get something that feels like what you're looking for.
Someone should put Clippy in Unity, and he'll say, it looks like you're adding some assets before you prototype your mechanics. You might not want to do that.
Yeah, don't put artwork in yet, pop-up.
Someone should write that. Okay. True. All right, let us see if any brave souls have any questions for you.
Oh, I see one.
Yes. Hello. So what are your all-time favorite games to play?
Ooh, okay. This is gonna be a trip down nostalgia lane. So I basically almost every single year will play through, maybe every 2 years, I'll usually play through Chrono Cross, Final Fantasy IX, and this game called Toomba, which is like a really not well-known game about a pink-haired caveman who's trying to save his uncle's golden bracelet, that came out on PlayStation 1. But those 3 games are just like, oh, and then Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Those 4 games are like my 4 sort of favorite games of all time, and I just think all of them are beautifully made in their own way. And so I really like to just sort of go through them, sort of like back to back to back, and figure out what it was that I liked about them, and look at like new things I've seen before. And then, like I said, right now I'm playing a lot of Destiny because it's just a very relaxing game to me.
I don't know. I didn't even have to think about it.
What?
I love how you didn't even have to think about it.
Well, those 4 games are like so solidified in my heart of like, these are the games that I love, and I will always love these games, and they're perfect. And I think a lot of that does have to do with nostalgia. Because like Final Fantasy IX and Chrono Cross, I both played at like the perfect time in my life, where I was going through the whole teenage, oh, I'm from a small town, I need to go on a grand adventure. And here were these games that were just escapes for me to go on those grand adventures and feel like I was super important and like had to save the world and do all these things. And it just hit me right in that like very special spot in my heart. And then Castlevania Symphony of the Night is just one of the most beautiful games with the soundtrack in the entire world. And Toomba was just like a very game, and it was that I sort of played, and it really stuck with me as like something that was really interesting and innovative. And so, I don't know, I always come back to those 4 games of things that I just love, and I think exemplify my taste in games and what I want out of games.
Are there any games that, like, you really wanted to love, but you just, like, couldn't for whatever reason?
World of Warcraft. I really, really wanted to like that game. Everybody I knew played it, and it seemed like something I would like to do. You know, you go on a grand adventure, you do things, you're important, and you're wonderful. But I can't get it. I don't like anything about it. Nothing. And
What do you think could have made it work for you, if anything?
Maybe. I think a lot of it might have to do with like, when the internet first came out, I was instilled with a very like healthy fear of the internet, of like strangers are bad, don't talk to them because they'll find out they'll kidnap you. You know, so like
whether the potential predator. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like the thought of a game that I would be online with strangers and talk to them, so they could come and kidnap me forever, was always very scary. And I really wish that I had that, because I didn't have very many friends in high school, because I was like this like lone game nerd kid, and I wish that I had had that outlet to make friends that would have been probably very good friends had I like been able to go that route. But I just was like, no, online people are scary.
Fair enough.
And now like all my friends are on the internet, so you know.
Still don't like World of Warcraft.
No, I still don't like World of Warcraft though, I guess. I don't know. Maybe now it's just like a thing that's in my heart where I'm just like, no, it's a crappy game.
Okay. Another question? Yeah. If not World of Warcraft, are there any other MMORPGs that you really like?
Okay, yeah, I think it's the massiveness of the game that I don't like. So I don't really play very many massive multiplayer online games because I don't like games that I feel like I can't finish. So like I said, like Dragon Age is something that I can't deal with because it's too big, it's too much, and there's too many things to do. And I get scared that I won't see like the coolest thing, so I don't even want to do any of it because I don't want to miss out on something. If I just don't play it at all, I won't miss out on anything. So yeah, I think it must be a lot of the massive. It's not even the online part; it's just the massive part that scares me.
Okay.
If you had to pick one game from your game of the week to work on and make it a full game, which one would it be and why?
Can I answer with 2 games instead of 1 game because I don't want to decide?
Yeah.
So the 2 games that I actually see doing something with there was one game where you play as a bird and the bird flies around and all you can do is flap. And it's a very simple game. So you just fly around, but you are trying to like pair up with other flocks of birds. But it's actually impossible because your stats are different than other birds. So it's this whole game about like trying to find your place and never actually being able to be there. And that's all it is. But I really want to sort of take that further as a concept in a way where you're trying to like birds. And then there was another game that I made that was about farting that I really liked because it was really funny. Where you are a person at a party and you have to fart, so you have to like go to a different container to fart and release your fart, or else like a big fart comes out and everybody's disgusted by you. It's the dumbest concept, but like it made me so happy to make that I wanted to make more of it and make it bigger and like put it on the internet and go, here we go, internet, here's a fart game.
So you have to find a group of people that farts like you and accepts you for your fart.
There we go. Combine them both. It could be called bird farting.
Oh dear.
Have you, in your travels, found a group of people that have a good balance between making artistic games and making monetized games?
Yeah, or like making a couple games that are artistic and a couple games that are.
Or making a couple of games that are artistic and a couple of games that are business oriented.
I find that a lot, and I think I keep coming back to the Nordic countries because I hang out in the Nordic countries a lot, but I find that they have a really good balance of artsy things and then also like a contract gig here and there, and then like a bunch of artsy things and then a contract gig. And I like that sort of focus personally because it's a lot of, oh, we're going to make our own thing. Okay, but then we have to make money for a little bit. But then, oh, we can float and make our own thing and then make money for a bit. And they always seem to have a really nice balance of that. And I think that's why you end up seeing a lot of like people from Nordic countries in like the experimental gameplay workshops in GEC and stuff because they have that freedom to be more experimental but then still focus on business things. Yeah, so I guess that's my answer to that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I'll give you a round of applause.